A new book by Geronimo Stilton, a cheese-colored camper. It says, "Dear mouse friends, welcome to the world of Geronimo Stilton." Oh my goodness, you can pause here and find all these different characters. It says, the editorial staff of the Rodents Gazette. You can pause and look them all up. We have Geronimo Stilton right here, a learned and brainy mouse editor of the Rodent Gazette. Thea Stilton, Geronimo's sister and special correspondent at the Rodent Gazette. Ooh, Trap Stilton. An awful joker, Geronimo's cousin and owner of the store Cheap Junk for Less. And Benjamin Stilton, a sweet and loving 9-year-old mouse, Geronimo's favorite nephew. Mr. Stilton, wait! One morning, I was in a fab mouse mood. I woke up before my alarm clock went off. I made myself a delicious, cheesy good breakfast, and I got a seat on the subway. Not an easy thing to do in a crowded New Mouse City. I was humming a happy tune when I reached my office. Just then, my secretary came racing up to me. "Mr. Stilton, wait!" she squeaked. "Don't open the door!" But I had already turned the knob. How strange. Someone was sitting at my desk. Grandfather William Shortpaws. He was a large mouse with silver fur and shiny steel glasses. He was holding my phone in one paw. The other paw flipped through my desk calendar. He looked so comfortable in my chair. You'd think he owned the place. And well, he did. You see, the mouse was my grandfather, Grandfather William Shortpaws. He was the founder of the company. Oops! I completely forgot to introduce myself. My name is Stilton, Geronimo Stilton. I'm a publisher. I run the most popular newspaper in New Mouse City. It's called the Rodents Gazette. But where was I? Oh, yes. I was staring at my grandfather. "Hello, grandfather," I squeaked. "How are you?" "Three! I said 3! "How do you think?" roared Grandfather William. "I'm busy! That's how I am!" I gulped. Can you believe I am afraid of my own grandfather? But don't let it get to you. But I don't let it get to me. You see, everyone is afraid of Grandfather William. Once he made a 10-pound rat cry just by glaring at him. Now he was screaming into the phone. I felt sorry for the poor mouse on the other end. "Yes! 3! He shrieked. "I need 3,000,000 guidebooks to Razakstan on the double. I said 3, 3, 3! Oh, he is very angry. T as in try harder. H as in hop to it. R as in right away. E as in exactly what I said. E as in end of discussion." He snickered, then he slammed down the phone. I chewed my whiskers. What are you doing here, grandfather?" I asked in a faint voice. "And why do you want to print 3,000,000 guidebooks to Razakstan?" Stan. As usual, Grandfather ignored me. He is the worst listener. Instead, he began scribbling away on my notepad. Just then, my secretary, Mousilla McMouser, came in. She handed Grandfather a stack of papers. He leafed through them, grumbling. "These are all wrong," he snorted. "Wrong, wrong, wrong!" He tore up the papers and crumpled them into a ball. Then he jumped onto my desk. He struck a pose just like a professional basketball mouse. "Score!" he squealed, shooting the ball into the waste paper basket. My secretary and I looked at each other in shock. "The business is a mess, Geronimo," he snorted. "You need to publish some bestsellers now, or you can say bye-bye to your books forever." I had no idea what Granddad was squeaking about. The company was doing great. The newspaper was selling the cheese popsicles in the summertime. The newspaper was selling like cheese popsicles in the summertime. And our books always sold well. Yes, we hadn't had a bestseller in a few months, but we were still making tons of money. Of course, Grandfather William wouldn't listen. "Don't tell me how we're doing," he shrieked. "I built this company with my bare paws. I know everything." Uh-oh, this was going to be a lot harder than I thought. Once Grandfather gets an idea in his head, it sticks like a mouse in a glue trap. He's like the safe at the Regal Rodent Bank, a tough one to crack. I tried reasoning with him. But Grandfather, I began in a gentle voice, 20 years ago you left running the company to me. Isn't this my job?" Can you guess his reply? Naturally, he didn't say a word. I told you my grandfather never listened. He was staring at my calendar. "Look at all these appointments," he squeaked. "I'm going to be busier than a rat burglar in the middle of a blackout." "But Grandfather," I complained, "those are my appointments." At that very moment, the phone rang. We both leaped for it. Unfortunately, the old mouse beat me to it. Ring, ring. "No, this is not Geronimo Stilton," he thundered. "I am his grandfather, and from today on, I am the one in charge. The head honcho, the boss, the big cheese. Got it?" He slammed the phone down. I was horrified. What would my clients think? Maybe Grandfather was right. The business was a mess, and it was all because of him. Should we do one more? Not even penguins. Right then, I remembered about the guidebook. "Grandfather, can you at least tell me about these guidebooks to Rats at Stan?" Grandfather William shook his head. "Poor Geronimo." He stopped. "Of course you don't understand. Can you help it if your brain is so small? So teeny, so microscopic? Not everyone can be a genius like me." By now, I was ready to strangle him. But how could I? I could just see the headlines in the paper the next day. "Young publisher murders feeble old grandfather. Stilton snuffs out innocent life." No, I couldn't do it. After all, I'm a newspaper mouse. I hate bad press. That's funny. Instead, I tried again. "Are you really going to print 3 million copies?" I asked. For once, Grandfather William seemed to hear me. He rolled his eyes. "Wake up, Geronimo! Wake up! Wake up!" he shouted in my ear, and then he waved a map under my snout. "What's that?" I mumbled, taken by surprise. He sneered, and he shoved the map at me again. This time I could see it clearly. It was a map of Rats at Stan. "Have you ever noticed that there are no guidebooks to Rats at Stan?" Grandfather demanded. I opened my mouth to reply, but he was already babbling on. "Ah, Rats at Stan," Grandfather said with a sigh. "A place no one has ever heard of before. Just think of all the guidebooks we can sell. He clapped his paws. Sometimes I am so smart. I scare myself, he chuckled. I was stunned. Had Grandfather William's cheese finally slipped off his cracker? No one goes to Rat's-Stan, not even penguins. But Grandfather, I began. There are no guidebooks to Rat's-Stan because the temperature there is 40